At every stage, his pedigree was such that he stood shoulders high above his peers. It is not surprising that many refer him as the chief of air staff that Nigeria never had.
Now, being a fighter pilot, what does it feel like?
I feel very fulfilled. I understand why some of our counterparts who are not fighter pilots tend to antagonize us. Because in the Air Force, if you are not a pilot, you are not in the creme de la creme of the trade. The aim of the Nigerian Air Force is to fight with aeroplane, to operate the aircraft, for one way or the other, fight or contribute to the fighting. So, if you are not a pilot, you better believe it or not, you are a supportive officer. You should be satisfied that you can still rise. You can become general as engineers, as even medical officer. You can still become a general. You can become a general, military police, whatever. But that is why every Air Force in the world, you cannot be the chief of the air staff if you're not a pilot. But why some people find it difficult to believe, I don't know. You shouldn't be a head of, for example, a research institute if you're not a researcher. But the research institute could still have other people. They have medical people maybe that look after their staff. But the medical person there should not come and say, no, I want to head this research institute because we all did graduate courses. So among the pilots, there have to be pilots graduated. The risk level is what matters. The fighter pilot runs the higher risk than the transport or non-combat helicopter pilot or the reconnaissance pilot. The fighter pilot is the one that actually goes one-on-one, face one-on-one with the enemy, fights one versus one. You shoot me, I shoot you, and all that. And then he's the one that is the infantryman of the Air Force. So, I feel proud that I'm able to become one and prove myself by the help of God. And even though there may not be so much of financial or whatever attached to it, one has a satisfaction that I am recognized as one of our, well, as they say, one of our top pilots, the fighter pilots of the Nigerian Air Force.
Beautiful.
It's a great satisfaction.
Beautiful. Now, if you want to change something in the Nigerian Air Force as a fighter pilot, what would that be?
We, in the Nigerian Air Force, we have digressed so much into developing non-combatant specialties, into dedicating efforts into non-core specialists. In the Nigerian Air Force, if I were to be the chief of the air staff, let's go straight. I will reduce some of the institutions that train people, which you can also equally obtain from the civil. Why we have pilot training and special engineering training is that you can't go to any university and get a fighter pilot. No, if we could, I will still say yes, bring them. So the Air Force should concentrate on its combat manpower development for the combat forces and the real combat support forces. But what do we have these days? We have too many medical centers. We even have medical schools. There are so many medical schools in Nigeria. Where can't you get nurses from? The Nigerian Air Force is having nursing schools, having carpentry schools, electrical schools. These things are obtainable. Electricians, not electrical schools, and catering schools. They distract from the core. These things, you should look at them, obtain them from the civil, give them the appropriate rank. If you want them to develop further, you can still send them. The civil institutions have levels. Send them, they should trade. They come back and do what we call grade them as they are before you promote them. But we became so sentimental that these guys are our colleagues, our party, so we need to create institutions, let them to have a command. No. So that they can have a command, so that the nurse will also command, so that what will I put it now? Every trade should test command. It's not by force. Even I, as a pilot, did not even get the opportunity to command until I almost become an air vice marshal because of some political issues. So you could still rise without being in command. But we focus so much on command. I was always in the cockpit or as a staff officer in the headquarters, and I was denied command for reason only God knows, until some people said no. People like Air Vice Marshal Odeshola, who was my instructor in the instructor pilot school and all that, he said, no, you can't allow Chris to keep rising and not have command when you even have less proficient pilots commanding places. And eventually got to command nav base Kano. Very, very, should I say, significant to me, because that was where my elder brother was commanding before he died those days.
Wow. That
happened to be the only command I had in the Air Force, and I was satisfied. And then I got promoted and I was able to become AOC or GOC as you call it, and then the door opened for various other commands. So I will reduce a lot of, shed a lot of weight in non-core concentration. That's all.
Okay, quickly, if let's round up with this. If someone is actually watching you right now and the person wants to join the Nigerian Air Force.
Beg your pardon, sorry.
If someone is actually watching you right now and the person wants to join the Nigerian Air Force as a fighter pilot, what is that one word you would tell the person and the person would actually listen and probably be inspired?
Must be excellent. Try to be excellent in what you're doing. If you're not excellent, you can't be excellent. You have to be excellent. The other things will come in. Excellence is a nature. They can train in. I've answered your question, but let me further expansion. You can be trained to be more courageous by exposure. You can be trained to be more militant by training. Those ones can be developed, but the attitude of doing your best in everything you do has to grow from childhood. Attitude of being your best. You're not like competing. I'm not saying you must be the best among your colleagues, but you must be excellent. In the American system, they don't concentrate on who came top, who came second. They talk about top 10%, top 5%, so that they recognize there is a group of people there. So, when I got some of these awards, there was an award I got. And up till now, I don't know whether I was first, second, or third, to be frank with you, but I was given an award of a distinguished graduate.